For those of you that don't know, I've been in the fitness industry for over 20 years now, which is crazy. I just dated myself. I spent about 15 of those years working as a personal trainer with every kind of client, right? Professional athletes, collegiate athletes, moms who just wanted to tone their arms. And I can tell you from years of experience, if there's one area that has more insanely confusing information, it is this. It is exercise, right? What's the best kind? How often do we do it? How much? It's full of confusion. And as you guys, as we just talked about this mental reframe, one of the reasons that there's so much overwhelming information is because people rarely stop to clarify their goals and what's underneath their goals. Okay? They never get clear on why they want to be fit. Is it just to be fit and achieve a certain aesthetic, or is it to be healthy? And they're not the same thing. Okay, years ago when I was running 3 times a week, lifting a couple times a week, most people would have looked at me and thought, wow, she's really fit. But what they didn't see is the reality behind that fitness, right? Behind the scenes. I was dealing with depleted hormones, constant fatigue, digestion issues, low-grade anxiety, nutritional deficiencies. And on the outside, I just looked like this picture of health, right? She's so fit. She's working out all the time. On the inside, I was depleted and totally burned out. How many of you guys know someone who was recently diagnosed with cancer? And everyone around them was shocked because this person was, super fit and healthy. Maybe they were a runner or they did marathons or a cyclist or someone who's just always at the gym, always taking care of their body. It's really important to see all of this for what it is, you guys, because the truth is fitness is not the same thing as health. And our culture gets this insanely wrong. Okay. And it's really important that we start seeing this difference because looking fit on the outside does not reflect what's happening internally and on the inside. Okay. So before we get into the most effective ways to exercise, right? The most health supportive ways, we're going to take a couple minutes to bust through some of these myths, okay? Because it's really important not to only understand what you should be doing, but also we want to make sure that we're very clear on what not to do and what isn't true, okay? Because the more you understand about how fitness actually works and how your body responds to certain kinds of movement, the easier it's going to be for you to create the perfect routine that's going to deliver results and support your health in the process, okay? The first one, and I know I just touched on this, but this might be the most important one. Being fit is not the same thing as being healthy, okay? I want that to really, really land for you today. Right? We just talked about the case of someone getting diagnosed with cancer, but maybe they were super, they were a marathon runner and everyone's like, oh, how could this person get cancer? This person is so healthy. On the inside of a body that runs, who knows, 20, 30, 40 hours, who knows how many hours a week, is someone who is depleted, someone who is stuck in fight or flight, someone whose immune system is extremely compromised. Okay, being fit is not the same thing as being healthy. In fact, some of the fittest people that I know, I've worked alongside them in the fitness industry for years. They've got the abs, everything's chiseled, they're just super lean and cut. They are some of the most unhealthy and depleted individuals I know. Okay, exercise is a form of stress, and too much of it without enough recovery breaks the body down, keeps the body stuck in a perpetual catabolic state, right? It's in a state where it's breaking down faster than it can repair itself because there's not enough time recovering, right? In rest and repair. Okay, even though these people might look really fit on the outside, when you look closer, when you zoom in, their adrenals are completely shot, right? Their hormones depleted across the board. Their joints are worn down and inflamed. They have mineral deficiencies. They have compromised gut health, right? They can't digest well because their body is stuck in fight or flight. They're malnourished. Their nervous systems are stressed out and their immune systems are compromised. Okay. Our bodies, especially the female body, was not designed to endure relentless exercise routines. They just weren't. Okay, so if your goal is to just, if that's all you want is to just look fit and chiseled and achieve that six pack by overtraining and just pushing through hours of cardio, that's totally up to you. But don't make the mistake that what you're doing is healthy, believing that what you're doing is healthy, okay? Because it's a far cry from it. In today's world too, it's always so surprising to me the number of women who haven't connected their tendency to exercise, right, with their hormone imbalances, right? Maybe heavy periods or severe PMS. Maybe they have anxiety all the time, or their skin's breaking out, or they can't sleep, or they're struggling with infertility, or they're having recurrent miscarriages. Okay, it's kind of mind-blowing how we're not making that connection from how we're exercising to how our health is in general. And there's such a strong connection there. Okay. Over-exercising has the power to destroy our health. We are seeing record levels of infertility, women who are losing their periods, all these hormone-driven issues. Why? Women are training like men. We are not built for this. We actually need a healthy amount of body fat on our bodies to maintain healthy hormones. You guys, a lot of you know that the decline in hormones, right? Menopause, when hormones start to decline, this is the aging process. So when women get super lean and they have no body fat and their body's not producing that many hormones, we are accelerating the aging process. Okay, so being fit is not the same thing as being healthy. Super important to understand. Okay, myth number 2. You have to work out 4 to 5 days a week consistently to be fit. Hey guys, as you're going to learn today, more is not always better. Okay, and as I just mentioned, I'm actually more toned now, working out 2, sometimes 3 times a week than I was when I was working out 4 to 5 times a week. And the reason for this is because that higher volume was too much stress on my system. I was constantly working against my stress hormones, right? Cortisol, everything out of balance instead of with my hormones. And when we overdo exercise, it keeps the body stuck in fight or flight. And as you guys know, that underlying fight or flight, it compromises every area of our health. And there's so many of us out there that are just at capacity stress-wise. And we add one more thing, right? Another workout or 2 to the regimen. That can push the body into a physiological state of overwhelm very easily, right? Inflammation goes up, cortisol goes up, and body just holds on to fat. When I put out a poll on my Instagram recently, how many women out there are just feeling overwhelmed, super stressed out, kind of at capacity? Thousands of women answered, and 95% of them are saying they feel that way. Okay, so when we start to understand what we're working with physiologically, we start to see why exercising 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week is working against us. I can't tell you how many women I've coached over the last several years, and they come into my programs and they've been working out a lot. Maybe they're CrossFitters, they're working out 4 or 5 times a week. And it's hard for them because some of them haven't achieved the look, the body that they're after. And so they're really hesitant to take my advice, which is back off. We need to prioritize recovery. We need to rebalance and replenish hormones and minerals and nutrients that have been lost. And so many of them will text me a weekend and say, Kate, wow, thank you. I just lost 5 pounds this week. I didn't change anything else. I'm not eating any less. All I'm doing is exercising less. And this is because when we move the body out of fight or flight, cortisol drops, right? Stress hormones come back into balance, inflammation goes down. We find this sweet spot. And we start to be able to work with our hormones rather than against them. I want to share with you guys a little example of this that really helps kind of clearly paint this picture. So we recently went to Hawaii in March, and we were down there. We were staying in this little community, and they had this great fitness center. And I had access to all of this cable machines and just really fun new gym equipment. And I started kind of falling into, I was just having so much fun. And so I went from kind of my 2 to 3 days to, oh, there was like 10 days where I was more averaging like 4 to 5 days a week. My husband was going and I just kept kind of going with him. And there was just so many fun things for me to try out. And I was kind of pushing the limits. And about a week or two into that, I just started to feel kind of inflamed and off. I wasn't sleeping as good. I just felt off in my body. And when we had got to Hawaii, I don't have a scale here at home, not someone who really tracks my weight, but we got to Hawaii, they had this really fancy scale where we were staying. So I'd stepped on the scale and I think I was 127 when we got there. And I stepped on the scale after those couple weeks of kind of doubling what I was doing exercise-wise, and I had gained 9 pounds in 10 days. You might be thinking, well, you were in Hawaii and you were drinking and you were eating and if you guys know me super well, you guys know I don't typically do those things on vacation. So I wasn't changing anything that was going on nutritionally. Everything was the same. It was that major increase in stress hormones. Not enough recovery. Boom, my body just held on to that fat. It was inflammation. So I backed off, I recovered, and within a week or less, it was like 4 days, I was right back to the weight that I had been at. One of the most important mindset shifts that you can make is understanding when to back off exercise, okay? Not because you're lazy, not because you're not disciplined enough, but because your body is going to be under certain levels of stress, sometimes higher, sometimes throughout your life, it's going to fluctuate. But if you prioritize your health and you're not just so hyper focused on how you want your body to look, again, if you prioritize your health, you're going to get so much farther, not only with achieving your goals and being able to release that weight and get the lean body you're desiring, but you're going to be able to keep your health in the process. Okay? We get this so wrong. Our culture tells us to stay disciplined and push through and no pain, no gain, and exercise more when stress is high, right? It's such a great stress reducer. You need to blow off steam. It's not exactly how the body works, okay? Exercise is a stressor, and it draws from the same pool of resources, glucose, minerals, nervous system capacity, and bandwidth that your body also relies on to handle emotional stressors, right? Handle poor sleep, travel, sickness, whatever your stressors are. And when those resources are already taxed, thank you to our modern day lives, adding more exercise to this equation is actually going to push your system into further imbalance. Okay? When stress load is already high, piling on more stress, right? Stress plus stress, even in the form of well-meaning exercise, can backfire. Okay? And when this happens, we start to see things like, I just can't lose weight. I'm tired all the time. Hormones are everywhere. Cycle feels crazy. Major PMS. I have cravings that I just can't get rid of. Sweets, carbs. I feel irritable. I feel burned out. Okay, this is one of the reasons people are always surprised at how consistent my body composition stays. It's not magic, my friends. It's strategy. When stress goes up, I don't push harder. I pull back. I walk more. Maybe do some breathing or meditation. Focus on nourishment. And this is the difference of working with your body and your hormones versus against them. I've done both. I can tell you that life is so much easier when you're going with this flow rather than fighting against these things. Okay, myth number 3, you need cardio and high intensity exercise to burn the fat. Okay, listen carefully. Fat loss is primarily driven by nutrition, not exercise or cardio. I'm gonna say that one more time. Fat loss is primarily driven by nutrition, not exercise or cardio. Okay, please do not use exercise to burn off calories. And the reason I say this is because when you understand how your metabolism works, it makes zero sense, okay? Let's say you go on a 30-minute run and you burn 300 or 400 calories. Because your metabolism's job is to keep you alive, right? Not help you achieve your six-pack. What it does is it works to restore that deficit. And it does this by increasing hunger and cravings and decreasing energy to get you back to your baseline, to keep you within what it believes is sort of this survival ideal zone, okay? That's why so many women feel like they're just spinning their wheels, right? As soon as you start to work out a little bit more, trying to burn calories, you can create this deficit, and all of a sudden you're exhausted and your cravings are through the roof and you're ravenous and you're out of control around food. Okay, this is not a lack in willpower, you guys. This is your biology. Your body is wired for survival, not aesthetics. Okay, and that's only part of this sort of story, right? Over exercising also spikes cortisol. You guys know that's the body's main stress hormone. And when that goes up, it doesn't just increase our cravings. It tells our body directly, hold on to fat. Don't let this go. And especially around the midsection. Okay. High cortisol, belly fat. Okay. This is why using exercise as your main weight loss tool is not a good idea. It's a battle that you won't win because you can't outwork, you won't be able to outwork or out willpower your body's survival mechanisms. If fat loss is your goal, nutrition needs to be addressed. That's the focus. Okay, you can use exercise to build strength and resilience and metabolic flexibility. But if fat loss is the goal, you want to focus and hone in on your nutrition. We'll talk a little bit about that at the end. We talked a lot about it the last couple months. That's where you want to really look. We don't want to use exercise to create a caloric deficit because that's not how the metabolism and our biology works. Okay, myth number 4. You have to do strength and cardio in separate workouts, and you need both, right? The truth is you can combine them, okay? For so many people, this is way more effective. It saves time, it reduces the total stress load on your body, and it delivers really powerful results, okay? Think of it this way. If your nervous system and hormones are already under stress, right? They're already struggling, depleted. The goal is to get the most benefit with the least time spent under stress, right? And that's why learning to train smarter, not harder, is so important. You want to get in, get it done, and get out, right? But when we are doing our strength and then on our off days, and we should be recovering and in rest and digest, we're going on a 30-minute run because we just want to get that lean body. More time under stress is just going to sabotage your results, okay? And it is possible to have one form of exercise that can help you achieve both, okay? Myth number 5, you need a split routine and progressive overload to get results, right? The split routines, progressive overload, if you're in this space, if you've been in this space at all, you've heard both of those terms. For both of you if there's anyone here who's not clear on what is a split routine, what is progressive overload, a split routine is basically a workout where you basically divide your training into muscle groups. So for example, you'll have like leg days, arms on another day, chest and back. There's separate days for separate muscle groups, okay? It's really common right now. And it typically requires you to target each muscle group a few times a week in order for it to be effective. And then progressive overload just means that you're gradually increasing the challenge, right? You're increasing your weight over time, right? You're adding either more weight, more reps. Somehow the intensity is becoming progressively more difficult, okay? The truth is that split routines and progressive overload, they can be effective if used correctly, but they're not the only way to build strength and get results, okay? And for so many women, especially those out there who are dealing with lots of stress, hormone issues, nervous system dysregulation, which, as I just mentioned, is most women on this planet. Okay, I witnessed this split routine and this constant focus on progressive overload do more harm than good. Okay. And the reason for this is when we take a step back and we really zoom in on female biology, right? It becomes very clear that we were never designed to do this type of thing. We were not designed to train like men, right? Our hormonal rhythms, stress response, our ancestral movement patterns tell a very, very different story. Okay, when in the history did women ever divide their daily movement into isolated muscle groups, targeting each one repeatedly? Okay, when we look back, historically speaking, women moved often, right? We squatted, climbed, gathered food, carried baskets, carried children. The movement was full body, very functional, and very intuitive. It was not structured around maxing out deadlifts 4 to 5 days a week under fluorescent lights in the gym. Okay, it's just not how we were wired. Okay, there's no biological or historical precedent for women lifting near maximal loads on repeat, especially when we're experiencing chronic stress, right? A lot of women doing this in fasted states without enough recovery. And sadly, this is what is just being pushed right now, right? So many modern fitness programs right now are encouraging this, exactly what I'm explaining. And the result is just more burnout, more hormonal disruption, fatigue, low-level anxiety all the time. Okay. Now I understand that there's a huge push right now in the wellness world and just in mainstream kind of medicine in general, but there's a huge push to build muscle, right? And I totally agree and I understand why, right? When we look at muscle mass is one of the strongest predictors of longevity. Okay, studies are making this very clear, showing that maintaining strength as we age is directly linked to how long we live and how healthy we are. Okay, health span and lifespan. However, the advice because of that has become lift as heavy as you can, follow progressive overload, split routines, eat more protein, take creatine, supplement, kind of taking all of this to an extreme. And while some of those things can be helpful, they're not always the best approach, okay? Especially for women, right? If we look at the world's longest living populations, like those in the blue zones, we see something really, really different. Okay, they're not lifting barbells and chasing personal records. They're not. Okay, they're gardening, they're walking, they're carrying groceries, they're getting up and down from the floor, they're moving throughout the day in a low impact, functional way. It's consistent, it's hormone friendly, right? And it builds strength without depleting hormones and overwhelming the nervous system. That's the entire goal. How can we build strength without depleting hormones and overwhelming our nervous systems? Okay, muscle matters, absolutely. We want to stay strong. But for most women, especially those navigating, especially those living on planet Earth, right? Navigating chronic stressors, hormonal shifts, lifting super heavy several times a week, aggressive progressive overload. I see it compromise people's health and backfire more often than not. Okay, I witness it all the time. We need to learn how to respect our biology and how to work with it. Okay, and some of the advice right now that's confusing you, the stuff that's circulating all over in Instagram and on social media right now, it doesn't fully support your biology. It's going to keep you working against it. Okay, so important to understand this so you can start to become your own expert, really understanding your body, your biology, and how we are designed. Okay, myth number 6. You must lift heavy to build strength. Okay, we just sort of touched on this. Okay, you do not have to lift super heavy weights to build strength or muscle. Okay, especially females. I could pull up dozens of studies right now. Okay, there's one, for example, there's a 12-week study that was, I think it was, I can link it if you guys are, I'll put it in the guidebook. It was basically where they took untrained women, compared full body workouts, right? Just done twice a week, just full body functional. And then upper and lower split routines done 4 times a week. So we've got a 4-time-a-week split routine, 2 times a week full body functional, and both groups performed the same volume. And the results showed no significant difference in strength, muscle mass, power, jump height, any of it. Both groups saw similar improvements, which was about a 20 to 30% increase in their 1 rep max. So just saying their strength gains were not that different. There's so many studies out there looking at full body versus these split routines. Okay, and the takeaway is when the volume is matched, right? Full body split routines, they can be equally as effective, meaning you don't need to work out 4 to 5 days a week lifting super heavy to be able to achieve those same goals. Okay. I have experienced this with my own body, and I've also helped lots of other women achieve certain goals for years and years and years, sometimes trying a split routine, other trying full body functional. And I can tell you with over 20 years of experience that split routines do not always lead to superior results. And in my opinion, they do less often, okay? They push women past that delicate balance point. 4 to 5 times a week, that's what you have to do, right? In a split routine to be able to stress those muscles enough, okay? It's not just about how much strength you're going to gain. It's about being able to do those things without compromising your health in the process. And I get it, you guys. There is so much noise in this space. Okay. But my hope is that some of this information is going to help you get a lot more clear so that you can feel more confident in your own approach, in your own decision making, understanding exactly what works best for your unique body. Okay, knowing and honoring your own body and your biology in the process, it is unbelievably important.